All right. Hi, everyone. You can call me Pant, and today I'm going to be giving you a bit of a crash course in how to identify rodent skulls. One of the easiest ways to identify different rodent skulls is how different groups of rodents have adapted their jaw musculature to allow them to gnaw on things. So there are 4 different ways that rodents have done this. Our first way is what's called the protrogomorphous condition, and it's kind of the basal condition for rodents. It hasn't really modified their skulls very much outside of the enlargement of the incisors that we see in all rodents. We only have one kind of protrogomorphous rodent around today, and that's the mountain beaver, Aplodontia. So if you see a rodent skull that hasn't really too much modification to it, it's probably a mountain beaver. Additionally, mountain beavers also have these really cool side cusps on their molar teeth. So that's also a good way to identify mountain beavers. Our second rodent condition, it's what's called Sauromorphous. And you can see, again, still not too much modification, but they have what's called the maxillary plate here, which has shifted where their jaw muscles will attach. So a bunch of jaw muscles attach right here. Additionally, they have what's called a masteric tubercle, which is another point of attachment for some of their jaw muscles. Now, within the Sauromorphous condition, we've got a couple of different groups. So we've got, this is a beaver right here. So the castorids have a Sauromorphous condition. Then we also obviously have the squirrels, the true Saurids. They also have the Sauromorphous condition. We also have the heteromyoids, so that's pocket gophers, pocket mice, and kangaroo rats. And you can see these guys also have the Sauromorphous condition. Now, one way to differentiate Saurids, true squirrels, from other Sauromorphs is by looking at the top of their skulls. You can see here, we've got our beaver here, and our groundhog, this is a groundhog, our true squirrel here. And one of the easiest ways here to differentiate between the two is our true squirrels have what's called a post-orbital process right here. This kind of spur of bone that I'm pointing at right now that projects behind their orbit. You can see it's not present here in the beaver. So if you see a rodent that has this big post-orbital process, it's a good bet that it's a squirrel. Additionally, with our heteromyoids, so our pocket gopher and friends, they have super grooved incisors here, upper incisors. So if you see a rodent that has this, again, Sauromorphous condition where they have this maxillary plate and it has grooved incisors, it's a good bet that it's some sort of heteromyoid. So our next rodent jaw condition is what's called hystricomorphous. And this is one of the more modified conditions. And you can see in the hystricomorphous condition what's called the infraorbital foramen, which in most mammals is pretty small and only allows for the passage of blood vessels and nerves, has expanded greatly. It's these 2 big holes in the front here to allow some of the jaw muscles to pass through it. And so the hystricomorph condition is common to all of the South American rodents, some of their African relatives. This is a old world porcupine here, an African crested porcupine. You can see the big expanded infraorbital foramen. And it's also evolved in the jerboas and their close relatives. You can see here, we've got those, again, big expanded infraorbital foramen to allow for the passage of jaw muscles. So those are our hystricomorphous rodents. And our last condition here in rodents is what's called the myomorphous condition. And it's kind of a combination between the Sauromorphous and hystricomorphous condition. You can see this big opening right here. That's the infraorbital foramen, and it allows some of the jaw muscles to pass through in myomorphs, but not quite as many, not quite as large muscles as we have in the hystricomorphs. But they've also got a bit of a maxillary plate going on and a bit of a steroid tubercle as well. So again, it's kind of a fusion between the two different jaw muscle styles that we see, the scuromorphs and the hystricomorphs. Within the myomorphs, we've obviously got quite a bit of diversity. This is going to be your mice and your rats and your voles and stuff. So here I've got a Norway rat, which is a murine myomorph. So that's all the old world mice and rats. It's also including a lot of the Australian native rodents too. And then we've got an arvicoline myomorph, and that's going to include your voles, your lemmings, and your muskrats. So this is a muskrat skull here. And, one of the best ways to differentiate arvicoline rodents from any other rodent, including murine rodents, is by looking at their molar teeth. So you can see here in our muskrat skull, which is the arvicoline, it's got this really cool prismatic cusps on its teeth that form these kind of little triangles that we don't see in our other myomorph rodents. This guy, our Norway rat, has kind of some pretty simple cusps going on. So if you see a myomorphous rodent skull with this kind of prismatic molars, good bet that it's going to be an arvicoline of some variety. So that is a bit of a quick whirlwind tour of how to identify rodent skulls. Hopefully that's helpful. And let me know if you guys want to see anything more, any other rodents, any more tips and tricks on how to get into kind of the nitty gritty of rodent skull and other skull ID. Thanks for listening, guys.